Hello everyone, good evening and welcome back to the Bundesliga Show, brought to you by Over the Bar, with your hosts, myself, Rory Petre, and the returning Mark Broadhurst. Everyone's been clamouring for him. There's been talk of a disciplinary for you going missing at this point of the season as well.
But I saw that on your show last week.
Yeah. Thankfully, you timed it perfectly in time for Matchday. 33 review. Welcome along, everyone. We're doing a very rare live Monday show, partially because of the late game on Sunday between RB and Wolfsburg. We thought because it was so big, the connotations to it, we'd rather just try and do a live show this evening. So whoever joins us, say hi in the comments and hopefully we can have a good show, because there's a lot to talk about, lots of top four stuff, lots of relegation stuff, and much more. Without further delay, we'll just kind of crack on. So, Mark, you might be a bit out of practice, but it's it's time for what is going to be the last Mark's mystery anagram of the season, because obviously when we do it next week, we'll just reveal the answer in Matchday 34. So over to you for the last one of the series.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously it's been a great series. I mean, it's been a lot of really, really good answers we've had. So let's see if we can finish strong, guys, and let's see if we can get the final anagram. So let's remind you, obviously, I believe you didn't do one last week, obviously, because I was away having a nice holiday. And if you remember from week 32, week 31 actually would have been, it was BONSAI FLAK, as you can see at the bottom of your screens. And that was indeed, it was Bielefeld relatively misfiring FABIAN KLOS. Big things were expected of FABIAN KLOS this season. He hasn't really delivered, let's be honest. But, Bielefeld staying with a chance of a famous dart to survive or on the last day. So, week 31's anagram was indeed Bielefeld striker FABIAN KLOS. So as Rory said, this is going to be the last new anagram of the week, because next week we'll just reveal the answer for this one. So I'm going to put it onto the screen. Let's have a strong finish, guys. As you can see, it is Jest, Rest, Jury. So we've got Jest, J-E-S-T, Rest, R-E-S-T, Jury, J-U-R-Y. Remember, it has to be something related to the Bundesliga, either the players, managers, or indeed clubs. You can see I'm a bit out of practice.
He is. He's even getting decent in the comment section. I love it. I agree, Johnny B. Part-time and he's back.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay, guys. So remember, strong finish. Also, guys, if any of you think you know it on the live show as well, comment now as well. We're happy to hear from any live comments as well. So that's the end of the Mark's Mystery Anagram for this week, week 33. So let's review the results from this week. It was a massive week of Bundesliga action, wasn't it? Almost every game had something relying on it, and we have had a lot of things decided as well this week. So let's have a look there. We got obviously Bielefeld 1, Hoffenheim 1, which was a big game. Augsburg winning 2-0 in the big game against beleaguered Werder Bremen. I've spent all season saying that Schalke are beleaguered, and now I'm going to say Werder Bremen are beleaguered. So, sorry about that, Werder fans, but you're on a really damn bad run, that's for sure. Leverkusen 1, Union 1 in a Europa League battle. Then we had a really, really good Stuttgart 2-1 away win against up and down Gladbach. Then we had an entertaining 2-2 draw against strong home side Freiburg against champions Bayern Munich. Then we had a 0-0 draw between Hertha and Cologne, which was obviously a really big game as well, but neither side could win through there. But that does mean that Hertha Berlin are safe now, so they're going to be happy with that. Then the shock of the weekend, wasn't it? I think if anyone was betting this week, they'd have put 50 quid or more. They would have put the mortgage on Frankfurt to win this game. They didn't win it. They lost in a horrible, horrible 4-3 away defeat against Schalke for only their third win of the season as well. Then moving on to Sunday was the Champions League that was in offer. We got a 3-1 win from Dortmund at Mainz, and then we got a Leipzig 2-2 draw with Wolfsburg in an entertaining game. So that rounds up the results of week 33. So let's move on to the OTB's featured four, where, as the regular viewers know, we select the 4 best games of the weekend, and then we review them in a bit more detail than the others. So no better place to start than with the Champions League race. And yeah, Saturday afternoon's disaster class from Frankfurt's defence in particular, losing 4-3 against already relegated Schalke, which now we can officially confirm has ended Eintracht Frankfurt's Champions League ambitions. They looked impossible, didn't it, a few weeks ago? They were, 7 points clear with about 6 games to go after winning. They beat Bayern Munich, they beat Wolfsburg, they beat Borussia Dortmund. They were on fire, weren't they? And then the big moment happened, didn't it? Adi Hütter, the manager, announced his move to Borussia Mönchengladbach in the summer, and it's just all gone to pot, basically, hasn't it, so to speak. And yeah, this was a disaster, really, of a performance, Rory. They had to win to keep things alive, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah, very much so. Obviously, credit to Schalke, who didn't have any particular reason to turn up and play the way they did, with such energy and passion. And they've been doing this little trick on their fans recently. They've been taking the lead in games, particularly in the last 2 games. Did it over the weekend because of a clumsy challenge from Tuta in the box for Huntelaar to then, quite fortuitously take. He missed, saved by a trap, and luckily the ball rebounded straight to him for the first goal. And then Frankfurt did come steaming back this time. So an Andre Silva headed goal from a Yunus cross, and then an Ndicka header from a Kamada corner that made it 2-1. And then you're thinking from there on in, business as usual, should be 3 or 4-1, and obviously take it to the last weekend. But how wrong we were. Schalke came storming back. They brought Matthew Hoppe off the bench at half time, and he was involved in, certainly heavily involved in 2 of the last 3 goals that was scored. And there was some really nice incisive play from Schalke, and certainly something maybe to look forward to next season in the SPI Bundesliga. Certainly a bit of hope, given all the doom and gloom that's been surrounding the club. So really nice passes, particularly for the second goal. The back-heeled pass from Huntelaar, showing his kind of class, was really impressive to see, and Hoppe enjoyed himself as well, getting the 4th goal, ran pretty much the length of the pitch, whilst Frankfurt, of course, were attacking, and made it 4-2. Frankfurt did, of course, get a 3rd goal through Andre Silva again. Bit of a scrambled goal, but he was obviously doing all he could to try and push to maybe get a point, but wasn't enough. And yeah, sure as fire. And because of the weekend's results, because of the results on Sunday, Frankfurt are now confirmed to miss out on the Champions League and will be in the Europa League next season. Not a bad achievement considering what they might have expected at the start of this season, but yeah, absolutely distraught for the club and everyone surrounding them. It's a real shame. I think they deserved it on the balance of play, but at the end of the day, you deserve to finish where you finish, if you catch my drift. They just haven't turned up since Hütter's announcement. So yeah, real shame, but hell of a game to watch.
Yeah, I think while we've got to give credit to Schalke, I mean, they have been getting better over the last few weeks. I've got to be honest. For me, obviously, defensively, there's still a shambles. I mean, Farman with a horrible mistake for the first goal, the goalkeeper. What he's doing there, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, fair play to them. They bounced back well. Idritsi with his first Bundesliga goal, he had a good game. Huntelaar, for me, I think if they could have got him on the pitch a little bit more since he signed, they could have got a few more results, to be honest with you. Because the games that he has played since he signed in January, I've been pretty impressed with him, to be honest. Obviously missed the penalty in this game, but then got the rebound. But his overall play was outstanding, really. And I think in recent weeks, he's definitely added more of an attacking threat to Schalke. But yeah, I mean, my overall feeling in this is Adi Hütter, hang your head in shame, mate. Basically, I mean, at the end of the day, we don't know his reasons completely. Hopefully we'll find more about that in the future. But I mean, you've got to keep that kind of thing quiet. You've got to stay professional. I mean, to me, looking at that Frankfurt defence, they didn't even look bothered half of the time in that game. I mean, this is a side that have been brilliant for long parts of this season. And for me, for 28 games, thoroughly deserved a top 4 place. But I mean, what they've done in the last 5 games has just been substandard at the end of the day. Obviously, 3 away defeats and 1 home win and 1 home draw in those 5 games since, which is amount to 11 points dropped, and sees them go from a 7-point advantage over Dortmund to a 4-point deficit in the space of 5 games. Just unbelievable, isn't it? Absolutely gutting for Frankfurt, but I mean, they've only got themselves to blame. The board also, you've got to do more to keep your manager at the end of the day. I mean, you've got guys like Andre Silva, Kostic, who at the end of the day could play at a higher level, let's be honest. They could play for some of your Dortmunds, your Bayerns even in some ways. And I mean, they deserve better, in my opinion. I'm gutted because I was really looking forward to seeing Frankfurt in the Champions League next year. I really enjoyed watching them play this year. So many outstanding performances in that side. Obviously, Silva, 27 league goals now, 31 games. If it wasn't for Lewandowski, he'd have been top scorer this season. Even ahead of Erling Haaland. Let's not forget that. You got Kostic, who's probably been the fullback of the season, along with Angelino. He's just been brilliant, hasn't he? And I mean, I'm really sad for them, but you've got to look at the way you're dealing with your club, and you've got to show more ambition for me. They should have been able to hold on. They didn't have that difficult a run in at the end of the day. They should have been able to do it, and they've not done it. And, they've only got themselves to blame. I wouldn't really say the players can take that much blame, to be honest with you, because they've had to deal with this ridiculous situation regarding the manager and the board, etc. And, yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to have to see what happens now with Frankfurt. For me, it's going to be hard, specifically to keep Silva and Kostic, I think. I think it's going to be very hard to keep those. And certain other players as well, like Kamada maybe might not quite have the finishing ability to kind of go to a bigger club, but still other teams might be looking at him as well, potentially. So we'll just have to see what happens with them. But no Champions League in Frankfurt in 2021-22. Okay, so let's swiftly move on to the game between obviously Leipzig and Wolfsburg. I mean, this was a game that before the kickoff, everybody knew that Wolfsburg was pretty much guaranteed Champions League. Let's be honest; it would have taken a massive swing, kind of crazy goal difference swing for them to be denied. They needed a point to officially confirm Champions League. But for me, the first half, that was vintage Wolfsburg. I mean, Maximilian Phillips' first goal. A brilliant half volley from outside the area, looping over Gulazzi. Fantastic goal there. Then obviously Wolfsburg doubling their lead on the stroke of half time through for me, it looked more like an own goal, to be honest with you, but the official gave Philip. Yeah, I think Philip got a little bit lucky for his goal bonus on that one, really. But yeah, obviously Weghorst hitting the post in the first half as well. Really, really good performance from Wolfsburg. But you're just looking for them to show, that they can beat these top teams. But sadly, the second half didn't quite go as planned, Rory.
No, not obviously ultimately to plan. I guess the fact that if Wolfsburg had beaten RB Leipzig, then they would have been right in the shout to actually come second outright. So they were probably unfortunate in a way that Leipzig still had something to play for. Otherwise, Leipzig might not have came out in the second half with the same ferocity. And it was obviously a much more impressive second half from RB Leipzig. Well led by Sabitzer. I thought he played quite well in that second half. The pass to Kluivert for the first goal was delightful, actually. Kluivert still had a lot of work to do. Composed himself well to score for the first time since December, I think it was. So that a well-needed goal for him, because he's not shown exactly what RB would have wanted to have seen from him since signing. He's had impacts off the bench, but the name carries a heavy burden, doesn't it? When you're the son of the great man himself. So yeah, obviously he wants to try and find his own path in football, which is absolutely perfectly fine. But hopefully, moving into next season, maybe he'll start to flourish a bit more and start regularly and score some more goals, because he clearly has the talent to do so. And yeah, obviously the penalty led to the equaliser for Sabitzer, to round off a good performance in the second half for him. after a foul on Haidara. But yeah, tale of two halves. Wolfsburg did the work in the first half. Very impressive in the first half. A really nice goal from Philipp, as you said, which was a good performance from him in the first half. So 2-2, and I think I might have actually predicted 2-2 in the prediction show with that I did with Smithy. So hopefully that's one of my correct scores in the bag. But yeah, it confirms Champions League for Wolfsburg. So a job thoroughly well done. They've put together a really sound season. We haven't seen this kind of crazy bad kind of run of form that most sides have done this season. We've seen it from Frankfurt now. Dortmund did it earlier on this season. Leipzig have had a wobble. Leverkusen, Gladbach. I mean, they've been the one constant team, really, other than Bayern Munich, who have really just kind of got on with business. When they've played badly, they've generally at least got a draw, which is a good quality to have. We said they're very steely. They've got a lot of grit to them. Good kind of setup with the back of Brooks and Lacroix, with obviously a very good keeper at the back as well with Castells. So, yeah, it's a great platform. Obviously, we'll have to see what happens with the manager as well. Glasner has been linked with a lot of jobs. So that might be another team that has a new coach come next season. We'll have to wait and see with that. But yeah, good game, but thoroughly well-deserved top four finish for Wolfsburg.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point about Leipzig's season, really, because, I mean, when you think about it, they lost Timo Werner in the summer, obviously quite late on as well in the transfer window. It was kind of expected, but they never really went big to replace him. They brought in Solo to kind of, let's be honest, aside from like a little flurry between, say, match day 25 and match day 30, he's not done a lot at all, has he, really? Let's be honest. But I think overall they can be quite happy with the season. They pushed Bayern for long parts, again falling away eventually. But yeah, I think it was a good season for Leipzig. I think very disappointing cup final performance. So we've got to say, I mean, they should have been able to push an admittedly very on form Dortmund side a little bit closer than that. It's a pity they couldn't have got the first major silverware under the belt for obviously Nagelsmann. But yeah, overall, I think Bayern have got themselves a great manager in Nagelsmann. It's going to be interesting to see how he does. He's a Bavarian guy. I think everyone expected he would go to Bayern eventually. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who replaces Nagelsmann at Leipzig as well. Like actually on the German commentary that I watched, the highlights of the game, actually they link Glasner with Leipzig as well, potentially.
Well, Mark, we know who's at RB Leipzig now because it's Jesse March.
Oh, of course, yeah. Sorry, you can see I've been on holiday.
Yeah, his brain's still on holiday mode. Yeah.
Sorry, it's RB Salzburg. Sorry, yeah, I got the wrong RB.
Yeah. So the very impressive Jesse March will be in the job for next season. Yeah, but as you were saying, anyway.
Yeah, obviously Jesse March coming from Salzburg to Leipzig as well. So that's going to be interesting to see how he does. Yeah, but I mean, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure whether he's the right choice, really, because I think from Salzburg it's a big step up, from the Austrian league to the German league. But it's going to be interesting to see how he does, see if Leipzig can kind of push Nagelsmann and Bayern Munich for the title next year. Okay, yeah. So let's move on to the next game, which is the other side of the table, isn't it? I mean, this was a real dogfight between two sides in absolutely woeful form as well. Augsburg and Werder Bremen. I mean, Werder Bremen now only 1 point from the last 8 games. Absolutely horrendous form. I mean, what a crazy game this was. You're just thinking, Vargas lashes out to the running midfielder, gets himself a straight red card after 12 minutes in this game. So you've got Augsburg's best player, the kind of talisman, the most skillful player, the biggest threat, already sent off after just 12 minutes of this game. I mean, obviously you see Kofeld begging for the red card. You can see how desperate he was. Obviously he has since been fired as well from Werder Bremen as a result of this game. For me, this has been a decision long in the coming as well. I don't rate the guy at all, Florian Kofeld. And I think they're better off without him, obviously replaced by Thomas Schaaf, who's a legend of Werder Bremen. But yeah, going back to the game, I mean, they go down to 10 men, Rory, and you're just thinking, come on, Werder, go and nick a 1-0 win and save your bacon, you know. But what happened after them was it was poor, wasn't it, from Werder Bremen?
Yeah, they never really took the game to Augsburg. They were still very cautious in their approach, obviously, despite the one-man advantage. Yeah, I mean, you could see how nervous they were, regardless of playing another side that, of course, were in the same situation. I mean, obviously the best chance really of their first half came only a few minutes after Vargas was sent off, when there was a bit of a goalmouth scramble, and the ball fell to Josh Sargent, and he managed to get his shot off, but I think he was cleared off the line and went out for a corner. So obviously that's quite a big moment. If you go 1-0 up, then you can maybe start to get a bit more confidence. But yeah, obviously going into early into the second half now, and then another huge moment in the game, in this topsy-turvy game, there was a second yellow card for Grosch, who obviously was then given his marching orders for Werder Bremen to level things up, to make it 10 men apiece. And Augsburg, you know, they were doing enough before that to stay in the game, and then they took confidence from that. And then, probably very fittingly, the first goal for Augsburg was a very scrambly and unpretty sort of goal, and it fell to Rani Khedira, who is actually signed for Union Berlin for next season. So the departing Rani Khedira obviously contributed in a large way by kind of fluffing his shot, so to speak, into the bottom corner, in off the post to make it 1-0. So yeah, huge moment there to make it 1-0. And then down the other end, the anonymous so far this season, Leandro Bittencourt, who was a large part of the reason why Werder stayed up last season. He hasn't had half the season this season. He's mainly appeared off the bench, but he struck a clean half volley. Obviously, he's got it in his boots. He has that magic that hit the inside of the Augsburg post and then ran across the line to then luckily go clear. So that's a huge moment, huge slice of luck for Augsburg. And then late on, Hahn ran clear, brought down by Rashica, clumsy challenge in the penalty area, for the referee to correctly give it, and Caliguri did the rest to make it 2-0 and save Augsburg's bacon. That was a mouthful. And yeah, amazingly now Augsburg's safe for another season, sitting in 12th position. And it almost seems like there's never any trouble when you look at the league table, don't you? But obviously how up and down that Saturday was with regards to how the table looked at different stages was crazy. And yeah, the relegation race will go down to the last day with Bielefeld, Cologne and Werder involved. So take your pick who's going down.
Yeah, I think for me, just to touch on Augsburg, I mean, congratulations for getting themselves safe. We always say they produce a big performance, but I just cannot understand why they sacked Heiko Herrlich a few weeks ago at all. I mean, they're one of those clubs, Augsburg, that they go through managers like, I don't know, like they just go through so many managers. Like every year they do this. They go on a run of about 4 or 5 games without a win, and they sack the manager. I mean, Heiko Herrlich been brilliant since he was there during his 18 months in charge. Like they had a really good season last year, played some good football, lost a lot of the key players, you like Max, etc. And I just cannot understand why they sacked him just after a bit of a bad run, you know. Like for me, if they'd have kept I think they sacked him in the middle of April. I think it was after the Schalke defeat, wasn't it? Yeah. Like I mean, I cannot understand that one at all. And then they've gone on a poor run since then and got themselves dragged right into it. I mean, fair play, they've got the result, but for me, they cause their own problems because they're not anywhere near a bottom 3 side for me, Augsburg, really. You know, they should have been like in that lower mid-table kind of area, really. But yeah, as for Werder, I mean, it's just, I mean, last year they got 31 points from 34 games. That got them a relegation playoff place. This year they're on 31 points from 33 games. And you have to think that 31 points this year is going to end up sinking them into that relegation automatic place, to be honest. Because, I mean, Cologne obviously playing Schalke at home. they've got the dream fixture, haven't they? Really, against Schalke, winless on the road all season. So yeah, Werder are in so much trouble now. You just can't even imagine it, really. I mean, for me, they're favourites, to be honest, now for that automatic relegation spot. I mean, obviously they host Borussia Mönchengladbach next week. Gladbach very up and down, but at the end of the day, it's hard to see them winning that game, really, isn't it, Rory? Do you see enough in Werder now to stay up, or do you think they're done for, basically?
I think they're in trouble. Probably a large part of it is to do with because Gladbach lost to Stuttgart at the weekend. Gladbach are now in a race or a battle for 7th place, which is obviously the Europa Conference League spot or whatever they're calling it, which obviously they're going to be the 3rd European competition next season. Of course, Gladbach won it for European football financial benefits because they're used to it at the moment. And they're being chased by Union, Stuttgart and Freiburg, who are all within striking distance of that 7th spot. Obviously, currently, it's in the possession of Union Berlin. So they're the team in possession right now. So Werder aren't going to come up against a Gladbach side who are just going to be on their holidays. They need to win, absolutely need to win. So if they come up against a Gladbach side that have got Plie and Thuram running at them, it's going to be all sorts of hard work. So at the moment, I'd say Werder are probably favourites to go down directly for me.
Yeah, I think for me, the issue with Werder is not so much defence. I mean, the defence isn't exactly world class, but it's not shambolic, I wouldn't say. But for me, the problem is just their attack. They just don't score goals, do they, at all? And let's be honest, they don't really create that many chances either. I mean, at times they've looked good this season. I think in the first part, you would say, okay, they were doing pretty well, but the second half has just been garbage, really, for them, hasn't it? I mean, obviously, Kohfeldt fired Thomas Schaaf, who actually managed them incredibly between 1999 and 2013. He won a league title, a DFB Pokal, and he took them to a Europa League final. They lost to Shakhtar Donetsk. But I mean, the guy's like well into his 60s now. So it's going to be one of them, isn't it? He's just going to have to Sam Allardyce style, like rally the troops, and try and get a result and then say thank you, good night. Basically, It's got to be one of them, really, hasn't it? I mean, it's a massive break. I can understand why they sacked Kohfeldt, to be honest. I'd probably done it a week or two earlier, in all honesty. Because, I mean, that was just a shambolic performance against Augsburg, to be honest with you. I mean, it was put on a plate with them down to 10 men so early on. And to serve that up is just not good enough at the end of the day. The Werder fan, and also for the Bundesliga's sake, to lose Werder Bremen and Schalke would be catastrophic, to be honest with you. Two of the biggest clubs in the Bundesliga. I'd be very, very sad to see both of them go. But in all honesty, I would say Werder probably, based on the performance, not only this season, but last season as well, they probably do deserve to be playing Zweite Bundesliga, let's be honest with you, Okay, so talking of the relegation race, I mean, on paper, this one didn't look like it was going to be that good of a game, but I thought this was a really entertaining game to watch, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously the first half, Hoffenheim taking the lead. Then it was an incredible free kick, wasn't it? I mean, what a free kick that was. The keeper, again, you could maybe blame him a little bit because it looked, to me, the goalkeeper thought it was going over or wide and it just kind of dipped into that top corner, didn't it? But then, I mean, the second half, I mean, how many chances did both sides miss, Rory? I mean, it was just chance after chance for both sides, wasn't it? Specifically for Bielefeld, but I mean, obviously, Hoffenheim also had their own chances as well, Rory.
Yeah, of course. So very interesting game on the face of it, with Hoffenheim not in theory having anything to play for. They truly turned up and made a very entertaining game. Went ahead very early doors, like you mentioned. Really good counter attack directly from a Bielefeld corner, actually. So they'll be disappointed with that. Kramaric. Another striker breaking a club record. I think there's been all sorts of club records obviously going on this season, which I'm sure we'll talk about a few in due course. So well done to Kramaric. He's been a spearhead of Hoffenheim all season, and he obviously got to finish off a nice counter-attack. And yeah, the Bielefeld goal, Volksammer, brilliant hit. Yeah, superb free kick. 2 goals this season and 2 huge goals as well. So one direct from a free kick, and the other one he scuffed the free kick, and then it came back to him and he volleyed it in. So yeah, set piece specialist there for Volkshammer. But yeah, hugely important goal and incredibly important for Bielefeld to have responded quickly. I think the longer the game went on as 1-0 to Hoffenheim would have been more dangerous, I think, for Bielefeld. So yeah, impressive response. And then, yeah, the second half, there were huge chances for both sides. I think, obviously, I think there was a few chances for KLOS. He, hasn't really had the best of season, unfortunately, the captain. But the big one came directly after half-time, where a very strange or awful back pass header from one of the Hoffenheim central defenders looped up perfectly to an awaiting Volkshammer, and he was smothered just in time by the Hoffenheim number 2 keeper, because there was no Baumann actually in net. So I think it was Pentke, who did a decent job actually. He couldn't do much with the free kick, and he actually played quite well. But yeah, down at the other end though, I mean, what a golden opportunity for Kramaric, diving header late on in the game to win it for Hoffenheim, potentially put Bielefeld into, could have relegated them in theory. And Stefan Ortega, take a bow, because he has been outstanding all season. And that save, he's going the wrong way and he pulls out an arm, and for him to have the strength to get over the bar as well at the same time, is that, that could be the hand that saves Bielefeld. And means that they're in the Bundesliga next season. Obviously, they have to back it up next week. But yeah, huge moment in their season right now. So creditable draw, and it keeps them just above the safety zone with a game to go. Yeah, it'd be a fantastic achievement for Bielefeld if they manage to nick that 15th spot. What an effort that will be. So yeah, I genuinely hope they do it based on the season they put together, how small the squad is, how small the financial budget is compared to all these huge teams that we have in the Bundesliga. So yeah, good luck to them.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that save. I mean, if you look at the impact on the table as well, I mean, if they'd have lost that game, they'd have been in 16th now instead of 15th, which is obviously the relegation playoff. And obviously with an away trip to Stuttgart, who was still chasing Europe, on form Stuttgart as well, and with Cologne hosting Cologne hosting Schalke as well. I mean, that point could be massive come the end of the season. I mean, as you say, for me, Bielefeld probably should have won this game, really. Vogelshammer had a number of chances. Also, Fabian Klos, who's not had a good season, as you mentioned. They had probably 3-4 good chances, but then that save at the end, I mean, Kramaric, 19 goals for the season as well. For a Hoffenheim side who, I wouldn't say they've been poor, but it's not been a great season for them. It's been a below par season, I would say. Obviously in 11th place on 40 points. But I mean, yeah, there's got to be some sides looking at him now. This has been like the 3rd or 4th season in a row that he's been getting like well into double figures in the Bundesliga. I mean, for me, if I were some of these, even someone like a Gladbach, if for example, Thuram leaves, which is probably likely at the moment, if he leaves, then he's the kind of guy that could go in for, because he's a great goal scorer. He probably should have had number 20 with that header. Another inch further to the side, and it would have been physically impossible for him to save it. But I mean, yeah, good game. This really enjoyable game. I think all of us are hoping that Bielefeld managed to do it, because it's been a great story. None of us thought they'd be anywhere near this point at this stage of the season. I think they'd be very unlucky to go down on 32 points, because that number would have had them safe last year, So yeah, let's hope. Obviously, 2 of our favourite teams, I think, Rory, Stuttgart and Bielefeld. I'd like both of them to get the goals, ideally. But it's been a great season for both, to be honest, regardless of what happens on the last day. Okay, so let's swiftly move on to the other games now. Obviously, a lot of other matches taking place as well. So let's start with, Borussia Dortmund's 3-1 win at Mainz. Probably, everyone expected goals in this game. I think everyone predicted goals. I mean, and there was goals, but I mean, mostly for Dortmund. Got to say, Dortmund, fair play to Terzic, really. Awful start to his stint after Lucien Favre was fired. But for me, Do you know what? Part of me thinks that they might be a little bit gutted that he's going, to be honest with you, and they have brought in Rosa because they've looked a really good side recently. He's got Jadon Sancho playing as well as he ever has done for Dortmund again. He's got Guerrero attacking that wing again fantastically. Haaland looking as fired up as ever. I mean, they've done really, really well. Obviously, the likes of Bellingham have really improved over the course of the season as well. Rory, how would you rate their season overall then? Before we get to the analysis, how would you rate Dortmund's season?
I'll try and keep it short because obviously we've got loads of games to go through and not too much time. As a season, as I'm sporting the colours, I'll try and be fairly generous with my comments. It's picked up. If you were to offer them Champions League football and a DFB Pokal trophy, on the face of it, that's not a bad season. I think it's just the way that it's kind of been pieced together. It has been a bit of a kind of a wobbler really for them, and credit to Edin Terzic. He's picked up the pieces of a devoid side of confidence and really picked them up. Has managed a lot of players really well by the looks of it. Sancho in this particular game was superb. Guerrero, possibly one of the best left backs. Obviously alongside Angelino,
Kostic.
And Kostic as well. So there's three brilliant left backs there. As a whole, you take it as a Dortmund fan. It's imperative that they got that Champions League place. It makes it more appealing and easier to keep Haaland. From what I hear, they're still potentially open to offers for Sancho. If an important bid comes in, is the words that have been used. So obviously if that matches their valuation of the player. Obviously as a Man United fan back in England, that's something that United have been linked to. So we'll watch that with interest. The game itself, Dortmund were in control from the start, created chances at will. Sancho teeing up Guerrero. Bellingham was playing really well from the middle. Royce got on the end of another Sancho pass. Brandt, wrapped up a really good win and a late penalty for Quaison, which was actually quite a big one for the player and the club because it was his 30th Bundesliga goal, which I think is a club record for overall goals scored in the Bundesliga for them. So well done to Quaison. Comfortable win. They looked very relaxed considering that they had to win the game to confirm Champions League. They looked so at ease with each other. They all looked like they knew each other's game. So it will be interesting to see what they do with Terzic. Will they keep him internally, put him as assistant? But will Terzic now want that after getting a taste of half a season's worth of head coach jobs? There's probably a few teams that are already sniffing around him for next season. Frankfurt haven't got a manager for next season. Leverkusen have only got an interim manager, and plenty of other teams. So we'll definitely watch that with interest. So good win for Dortmund and a decent season for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And as for Mainz, obviously they were safe before kickoff, so that possibly helped Dortmund. We've seen one of the great escapes of all time in the Bundesliga history, really. I mean, we never stopped for the first, 10, 15 years, we never stopped talking about how bad Mainz were, did we? And since then, we've never stopped talking about how good they were, really. So, I mean, fair play to them. They could enjoy their last home game of the season. They were pretty well outplayed in this game, but great season for them as well, sitting in 13th and safe ahead of the last day. So let's go on to I would say Europa League / Conference League playoff game between Gladbach and Stuttgart. I mean, obviously, captain fantastic, Lars Stindl, probably one of few Gladbach players who can say they've been really, really happy with the season this year, Stindl. He's had a great season, really kind of leading them well. But then, obviously, moment of the match came with a brilliant Wataru Endo. I mean, we talked about him a lot early in the season, didn't we? He kind of went off the boil a little bit in the middle. But what a hit that was to equalise in this game. I mean, it was one of the goals, and probably the goal of the weekend, along with Maximilian Philipp for Wolfsburg. I mean, it was a great strike, equalising. And then, Rory, they go on to win the game, don't they?
They do, yeah. I wish Endo did that for my Stuttgart team on Football Manager. He doesn't tend to get forward much for me. Maybe I need to change his playing roles potentially and shoot from distance instructions. But yeah, brilliant goal from Wataru Endo. Fantastic strike to equalise. And yeah, obviously they were able to go on and win it via a Kalajdzic goal. But obviously it was Stenzel who shot from out at distance, and Kalajdzic managed to get a cute little toe end to it, which deflected it perfectly beyond the keeper to make it 2-1. So yeah, a really good comeback from Stuttgart, who have indeed picked up form. Really pleased to see that they haven't kind of given up and just dropped anchor, knowing that they were safe mid-table. Yeah, in theory, they could maybe nick a 7th place spot. Obviously, at the end of the season, if they were to win their last game against relegation threatened Bielefeld, who they came up with last season, don't forget. So that's an interesting contrast that you've got there. One chasing Europa League conference spot and one still fighting against relegation. So yeah, good win. And we'll look forward to the last weekend and see what they can do against Bielefeld. But a fantastic season for them, and Gladbach wobbling, but they've still got a chance.
Yeah, obviously guaranteed top half as well now, Stuttgart, which is a fan. We know how much teams that get promoted struggle in the Bundesliga, and they've just been brilliant. 10 out of 10 for me, Stuttgart. Can't fault them at all. You mentioned Kalajdzic, for a guy who couldn't get anywhere near their team really for the first part of the season. Well, he was used as a sub. That's now 16 league goals he's bagged now. And I would say almost all of them, I think he only got his first goal in December. So, I mean, he can't be far off a goal a game in that period, to be honest with you. It's been a brilliant run. I mean, a lot of his goals are kind of unorthodox a little bit, aren't they? I mean, the crazy looping headers, but I mean, he's a massive guy, absolutely massive guy. Like, he's 6'7", incredibly. Yeah, it's a Peter Crouch level, but I mean, he's had a brilliant season. A lot of strikers have had great seasons. We know the Bundesliga is famous for strikers. That's why a lot of people like to watch the Bundesliga, because of the good strikers on show. But I mean, we've had so many, haven't we? Like Silva, obviously Haaland, Lewandowski, but also like Kramaric, Weghorst, Kalajdzic. Just so many good strikers. Almost every team has a capable striker at this level. Okay, so obviously, yeah, it's not often we talk about Bayern Munich 2-2 draws so far down our playlist, but yeah, obviously crowned champions against mid-table Freiburg, another side who had probably an 8 or a 9 out of 10 season, to be honest with you, playing out a 2-2 draw in this game. But obviously, I think the big talking point was the fact that Lewandowski did get goal number 40 of the season, which equaled Gerd Muller's 40-goal haul record. And I thought it was quite nice how he celebrated, saying with the Gerd Muller T-shirt as well. I think he said, never
Gerd forever or something like that.
Gerd forever, yeah. I thought that was quite a nice point, because obviously Gerd Muller, probably the biggest Bayern Munich legend of all time. So, I mean, he wants to show his respect for the man who he's. And obviously next week he's got Augsburg at home. Few people were back against him breaking that record as well, to be honest with you. Yeah, but I mean, what did you make of this one, Rory?
He, for a game that is 6th or 7th on our list, my notes are crazy on this game. So much happened in this game. But yeah, just try and summarize it in short. Again, well done to Freiburg for turning up when they didn't necessarily have to. Mid-table secured, but of course they're maybe trying to nick that 7th Europa Conference League spot. I'll never get used to saying that. But yeah, the penalty came for Lewandowski, maybe a bit generous on review. It looked like just an honest tussle in the box, but obviously it was given and slotted away. And Freiburg came straight back into it with a header a few minutes afterwards. Maybe they were still celebrating the Lewandowski achievement. And obviously Bayern thought they went 2-1 up after Sane went on a lovely run. It was tapped in. His cross shot was tapped in by Gnabry. He was narrowly offside. But then Sane got on the end of a lovely Muller cross, actually, a first-time volleyed cross, which he got on the end of, which was onside. So that was 2-1. But yeah, absolutely credit to Freiburg, they never gave up. They were creating chances at will. Demirovic had a great chance, scuffed his lines. Holler also was denied by Nubel, who was in net instead of Neuer on this occasion. And Lewandowski was denied the record on countless occasions by FLAK in net. Saved from headers, but the double save near the end, where he makes the first save, and then Lewandowski, the ball goes back out into play and it's crossed into him. He looks offside, but he wasn't, and he volleys or like scuffs the ball into the keeper's hands. He literally just had to run into it to score and break the record. So he'll be cursing himself a little bit, but what an achievement! 40 goals in a season like this, having missed games through injury with a game to go. Amazing achievement. So well done to Lewandowski, the best out-and-out striker in the world, you have to say, without a doubt for me. So yeah, good game, and well done to Lewandowski.
Yeah, as you say, he's only actually played 29 games, so that means he's missed He missed 4 games this season as well, and he could still break the record, which is just, and I think 2 or 3 of them were sub appearances as well. Early in the season, so I mean, it's just absolutely insane, really, But yeah, as for Freiburg, good point for them again. Bayern have definitely got to work on the defense. So I mean, this is the worst defensive Bayern side I think I've ever seen, to be honest with you. I mean, they ship goals left, right, and centre, specifically from corners. I mean, they can't defend corners to save their lives nowadays. So they're going to have to look forward to a Upamecano coming in next year and hopefully shoring up their defense for their sake. Okay, so on to the last 2 games, which were both draws. Hertha versus Cologne, which was very, very a big game. But for me, obviously, it finished a 0-0 draw. But for me, the big takeaway from this is, how did Cologne not get a penalty at the end? Like, for me, that you might disagree with me on this one, Rory, but for me, that looked like a stone wall. I know he was kind of looking for it, but the Hertha player definitely moved towards him. The German commentary, they seem to think it was the right decision that he didn't give it, but I don't know. For me, if that's the Premier League, they give the penalty. No question about that. I think in the Bundesliga, they don't like to give very controversial decisions. They tend to shy away from them, which in some ways is good. But what did you make of that one, Rory? Was it a penalty or not?
I think when you give the referee a decision to make, obviously it can go either way. It obviously looks like there's some contact on the player. It's not something that he needs to do, because the player that was fouled, potentially fouled, was moving out of the area. So you only really need to press him out without making a tackle. So to be honest, I think that they made the right decision in the end. I don't think there was enough. So yeah, it's not often that you and me don't agree on things, to be fair. But yeah, on this one, I'm going to say that they just about made the right decision, and obviously it's a result that confirms Hertha's survival, which is great for them. They looked in a lot of trouble, obviously, because of what happened with coronavirus and their outbreak there. So well done to them. They've collected a lot of points in a short space of time. There was high demand on them, but great to see. And great to see the coach celebrating with a cigar on a post-match interview on Zoom, I think it was, in his back garden, potentially. Enjoying the fruits of his labour. So well done. Was it Dardai, the manager?
Dardai,
yeah. So yeah, big fan of that. Got to celebrate the big moments, even if it is, survival on this occasion. But yeah, well done to them. They've done a good job in the end. But Cologne, on the other hand, big trouble. But they've got that potentially more tasty-looking tie with Schalke to come on the last day to maybe save their bacon.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, Hertha's 7-match unbeaten run as well, either side of the 3 games before the COVID quarantine, and then obviously 4 games since. So, fair play to them. They deserve to step. It's not been a great season for Hertha by any means. It's been a poor season, in fact, but they managed to produce the goods when they needed. To be honest, I thought Cologne were very unlucky not to win this game, in all honesty. You've got to say, Marius Wolf, where's he been all season? Do you know what I mean? Because for me, the last 5 or 6 games, he looks like a real player, You've got to ask yourself, where's he been the last God knows how many games. But yeah, fair play to him. If he puts in one big performance next week, they could very easily find themselves either in the playoff, which they probably take at the moment. I think they definitely take that, in fact, because they should have, for me, they should have enough quality to win that playoff potentially. But obviously, one game to go, and they are still in that bottom two. So let's see what happens there. Then, yeah, another Europa League game, I guess you'd call it. But I guess as for Leverkusen, they probably didn't care that much about this game. Good point for Union Berlin away in Leverkusen. Much to say on that one, Rory?
Not an awful lot. A couple of early goals that were disallowed in the game were a bit of a warning to both sides. But I think obviously Gianpolo, our favourite pronunciation, the Finnish striker, had a bit of a stinker last time out. He should have scored a few goals in Union's last game, the 3-0 loss to Wolfsburg. But yeah, he managed to finish from a cross this time after his initial header was saved. Union looked dangerous. The return of Geraldo Becker and Awonyi gave them a bit more directness, a bit more pace, which they've missed, I think, in recent weeks. So having them both back off the bench from injury was important. But Leverkusen, Leverkusen were able to come back into it. And I think as Diaby had a shot tipped onto the bar late on. Bellarabi should have found a teammate late on as well to potentially win it, but his pass was straight at one of the defenders. So yeah, one of those. I've missed out the goal from Wirtz early on, which gave Leverkusen the lead from a kind of cross/shot from Vendel. But yeah, point of piece is okay for both, I guess. But Union will obviously want to try and win that last game to confirm an amazing 7th place finish.
Yeah, obviously Leipzig at home, but potentially Leipzig won't be interested in that game. So we'll have to see. Yeah, a win would guarantee European football in the east part of Berlin next season. So yeah, so obviously that's the end of a really, really entertaining week. It always is entertaining at this stage of the season. Let's just finish with our hero and zero of the week then. So Rory, do you want to introduce our hero?
Yeah, we'll just spin through this very quickly as obviously we've been going through the analysis a little bit. Hero of the week, hard not to give it to him, even though he got it last week. You know, Robert Lewandowski, 40 goals in a season to equal Gerd Muller's goal scoring record in a season for 40 goals. Amazing achievement, well deserved, and who's betting against him breaking it next week? And he might be the hero again if he breaks it. So yeah, well done to him.
Yeah, absolutely. And the zero for me, it has to be Vargas, really, from Augsburg. I mean, obviously his team went on to win the game and they bailed him out massively. But at that point, at 2-0, at 0-0 with 12 minutes to go in your biggest game of your season, you're on bad form to go and do a ridiculous lash out like that he didn't need to do. I mean, it is poor from a guy who's had a really good season, actually, to be fair to him. But I mean, yeah, his team have bailed him out so he can enjoy a cigar on the beach, I guess, next week. So while the rest of his teammates are slogging it away at Bayern, he can go and chill out in the Alps or something. So yeah, fair play to him. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, that's the end of our show. That's the end of week 33 review. Obviously, we do have the one final prediction show upcoming as well this weekend. So this Thursday, sorry, and then one final review show which will be live on Monday. So yeah, so let me just sum up. Obviously, if you check out our Twitter feed at Over the Bar FB. So this is all things football related, Bundesliga, League One, which obviously I think they're planning a special playoff show as well later this week. So check that out. That's going to be really interesting. Obviously, the 14 playoff is going to start, I think, on Thursday or Friday in that league. So check that out. Obviously, check out otbfootball.net as well, which is our centerpiece of all of the Bundesliga related stuff and also everything football related. Yeah.
Just a quick note, Mark, before we finish up. Obviously, you and me are both working on some end of season stuff as well. Yeah. So we've got a lot in the pipe works. We've got a couple of exciting projects we're working on. So we'll do an end of season review at some point. We're planning on doing a live end of season Q&A session as well. So obviously look out on Twitter for when we post that and get all your questions in. More details on that to follow, and a few other bonus episodes that we're working on. So some really exciting stuff, and of course then that will perfectly lead into the Euros, which of course Over the Bar are covering as well. But yeah, just wanted to drop that in there as well for everyone tuning in, to watch out for all our extra coverage that we're going to be bringing.
Absolutely. So yeah, so we'll see you again on Thursday for the prediction show. See you then.
Cheers all.